For more than 100 years, one story from the sands of Egypt has captured our imagination like no other: the curse of King Tutankhamun's tomb. You've heard of it, right? It's this incredible tale of adventure, unbelievable treasure, and of course, sudden mysterious death. So in this explainer, we're going to dig in and separate the hard facts from the very tempting fiction.
This right here, this is the phrase that started it all. Death shall come on swift wings. It's a chilling warning, supposedly carved right at the entrance to the Pharaoh's tomb, a threat that would echo around the world the second that tomb was opened.
So that's the big question, isn't it? Was it real? Today, we're going to peel back all those layers, the mummy wrappings, the media hype, the actual historical facts, and find out what really happened in the Valley of the Kings.
See, before there was ever a whisper of a curse, there was this incredible story of pure grit and archaeological genius. This wasn't about ghosts, it was a multi-year hunt for a pharaoh who had been almost completely forgotten by history. For 5 long, hot, dusty seasons, the archaeologist Howard Carter searched and searched for Tutankhamun's tomb and found pretty much nothing. His sponsor, Lord Carnarvon, was just about ready to pull the plug on the whole thing, but Carter, he begged him for just one more season. And believe it or not, on November 4th, 1922, a worker stumbled on a single step hidden in the rock. That step led to a sealed door, and then another. History was literally about to be cracked open.
So Carter drills this tiny hole in that second door, he holds up a candle, and behind him, Lord Carnarvon is anxiously asking, "Can you see anything?" Carter's reply, the one he wrote down in his journal, would become absolutely legendary.
And oh, they were wonderful things. A royal burial chamber, almost completely intact, stuffed with over 5,000 priceless artifacts that hadn't been seen by human eyes in over 3,300 years. It was, without a doubt, the greatest archaeological find of the 20th century. Just a moment of pure triumph. But that feeling wouldn't last.
So the whole world is celebrating this amazing discovery. But very soon the headlines were going to shift from wonder and excitement to straight-up fear. The supposed curse was about to claim its very first and most famous victim.
So meet Lord Carnarvon. He's the man with the money. Without his checkbook, that tomb would probably still be hidden today. He was right there with Carter, one of the very first people in over 3 millennia to step inside that chamber. Then, in April 1923, just a few months after the big opening, Carnarvon died in Cairo. Now, the official cause of death? It was pretty ordinary, actually. He nicked a mosquito bite while he was shaving, the cut got infected, and it led to fatal blood poisoning. A tragedy for sure, but a totally explainable one.
But here's the thing, the public and the press, they weren't really interested in an ordinary explanation. A mosquito bite doesn't sell newspapers, does it? They wanted a story, and boy did they get one. Carnarvon's death wasn't a medical accident, no, it was the pharaoh's revenge. The curse was real.
All of a sudden, any weird event was seen as a sign from the great beyond. The lights went out all across Cairo the moment he died. His dog, miles away back in England, supposedly howled and just dropped dead. Even a cobra getting into Howard Carter's house and eating his pet canary, that was seen as a terrible omen. Coincidence was out, supernatural conspiracy was in.
So how did this thing get built up so fast? It wasn't ancient magic. It was something much more modern and, frankly, a lot more predictable. The media. And the whole thing was fueled by a simple business deal.
Okay, this part is the real key to the whole mystery. Lord Carnarvon, trying to control the story and maybe make a little money back, sold the exclusive press rights to just one newspaper, the Times of London. This meant every other paper in the world was completely locked out of the biggest story on the planet. So what did they do? Frustrated and desperate for anything to print, they just started making stuff up. Rumors, speculation, and the curse? That was the perfect sensational angle.
And I mean, they literally invented evidence. That famous warning, "Death shall come on swift wings," it was never found. Not on a wall, not on a tablet, not anywhere in that tomb. Same goes for all the other creepy-sounding threats. They were either totally fabricated or just wild misinterpretations of normal religious texts. See, some private Egyptian tombs had curses, sure, but royal tombs like King Tut's, they just didn't.
And once that story was out there, any death could be made to fit the narrative. Some guy who visited the tomb dies of pneumonia months later, the curse. Carter's own secretary dies back in London,
Yep, the curse again. The story just snowballed, fed by a public that was obsessed with it and a press that had found a story way more exciting than actual archaeology.
So for decades, this legend just kept going, based on spooky stories and anecdotes. But what happens when you stop telling stories and start looking at cold, hard data? Well, in 2002, a group of researchers decided to do exactly that. The method they used was actually pretty clever. They identified a group of Westerners who were in Egypt right when the tomb was opened. Then they split them into two groups. The exposed, these are the people who are physically there when the burial chamber was unsealed, and the unexposed. And then they just tracked how long everyone in both groups lived. Simple as that.
And the results? Well, they were a total bust for the curse. The group that was directly exposed lived to an average age of 70. The group that wasn't exposed lived to 75. Now, you might think that's a difference, but statistically, it's meaningless. The Pharaoh's curse had absolutely zero effect on how long they lived.
So the conclusion was just undeniable. When you actually put it to a scientific test, the entire legend just crumbles. There was zero data to back it up. The deadliest thing to ever come out of that tomb was the story people told about it.
Hey, if you have any doubt left, just think about this number. 17. That's how many years Howard Carter lived after he opened the tomb. The guy who drilled the first hole, who breathed the first breath of ancient air, the absolute #1 target for any angry pharaoh. He died peacefully of natural causes, almost 2 decades later at the age of 64.
So, what was the curse really? It was a recipe, a kind of perfect storm. You had media hype and sensationalism, a string of coincidences that were just too spooky to ignore, a public that was already totally fascinated with ancient Egypt, and one very unlucky aristocrat who, frankly, wasn't in great health to begin with. Those were the real ingredients.
In the end, the curse of King Tut's tomb isn't really a story about ancient Egypt at all. It's a story about us. It's a perfect example of how a really good story can become way more powerful than the actual truth. And it really makes you ask the question, what myths, fueled by today's media and our own ideas, are we all choosing to believe right now?